Hello, Chiquis. So, I wanted to make this quick video kind of as a way to answer a few questions that I've gotten about Wednesday's module, which was about reflexive verbs. So, this chapter, we kind of are introducing, reflexive verbs as well as stem changing verbs. And these are two different types of verbs that we have. Other than the normal conjugation, right? So if you think about it, I'm going to use this whiteboard. So we have regular verbs, which means they have regular conjugations. We have reflexive, and we have, what did I just say? Stem changing, right? So we have these three types of verbs, right? So, when we're talking about this, so regular verbs, well, we've already talked about these for most of the semester, right? So these are when we have regular endings for AR, ER, and IR, right? So, so that's when we have the normal rules. For example, AR verbs, we remember we always have that chart, right? Here. And we have the endings. So the yo form for AR is always O, and then AS, and then A, and then amos, and I. I don't know if you can see this very well. All right. So that we already know. All right. Then this week we talked about, we talked about stem changing verbs, right? These are just a different type of verb. So someone asked, when and why do we change the stem? For instance, sometimes we change our stem from E to IE. Why do we do that? Well, this is just a normal grammar rule that there is in the Spanish language. So for some of the verbs that they're regular. From some of the verbs that we have, their stem changes. And for other verbs that we have, they're reflexive, and we have to use the rules for those. So we'll talk about reflexive in a minute. Let's just talk about stem changing, okay? So this is just stem changing. It depends on the verb. So there's certain verbs in Spanish that are stem changing. And those changes, depend on what verb. So, for instance, let's look at where did I put this? Oh, actually, I think it's in here. Give me 1 second. Here we are. So, stem changers. Oh, my computer's broken. All right. So, take a look at this. So, so, what we have to look at here is, all right. So these are our stem changing verbs. All of these verbs, there's other ones, but these are the verbs that we've learned up to this far and the verbs that we have new in this chapter, right? So, for instance, why do we change from E to IE? Well, anytime we use the verb cerrar, empezar, pensar, sentir, sentar, tener, whatever, we're always going to have to change the stem. This is just the rule. Just like we have the different rules for ser, how it's soy, eres, es, somos. It's just a rule. So with these verbs, for instance, it's just a rule that when we conjugate the verb, it goes from E to IE. And remember that in the nosotros form, it doesn't change. It doesn't change the stem. But for instance, it's just a rule that whenever we have the verb pensar, to think, we have to change the stem. We have to change this E to an IE. Yo pienso, tú piensas, él, ella, usted piensa. Note that nosotros stays the same. It has the normal ending where we had where we add on the AMOS for an AR, so nosotros pensamos, but all the other ones, right, have the stem change. So to answer the question about why do we change from E to IE, or why do we change from O to UE, or why do we change from E to I, it's only on these certain verbs. So certain verbs, that's just the rule in Spanish that you have to change the stem when you conjugate in any of the subject forms other than nosotros. So those are stem changers, right? So this is another example, volver, to return. This is just another verb where in Spanish we always have to change the stem. So when we conjugate it, the O turns into a UE. Yo vuelvo. The O here turned into an UE. And then we have those normal endings where we have O, ES, E, EN, right? Those are the normal endings. So these all have their normal endings, like we saw here. They have their normal, right? The O, as, a, amos, an, or an ER would be O, S, A, amos, N. They have the normal endings, right? But their stem, the stem is the part, right? So the stem here, let's explain that for a minute. I mean, the stem is what changes. And the stem is the part, so for example, if we have, I don't know, pensar, right? We know that pensar is an AR verb, right? So the stem is this, the pens, right? Because this is the ending. This is what changes. So on stem changing verbs, we have the normal endings, right? So we have the O, as, a, right? Amos, an. But the stem changes. That's why they're called stem changing. This stem has to change from E to IE. So it's P, I, E, N, S. So we just transformed our stem, right? This looks better. P, I, E, N, S. We changed our stem. We changed our E to an IE in our stem, and now we have to add our normal ending. So if I'm talking about, I don't know, who, well, we know our ending is normal AS for AR verbs, so it's piensa. I hope this helps. So our last thing we talked about is reflexive. And reflexive verbs, I had a question about these, and the question was, so why are the conjugations all weird when the verb ends in an SE? Now, the important part about this is that reflexive verbs, think about it. All right, so are just ending, they look like this with this ending SE. So we know the verb despertar. By itself, that's a normal verb. Well, not normal. It's an AR verb, and it's a stem-changing verb, right? It's in our list of stem-changing verbs, and it's an E to IE. The E to IE. This addition of SE makes it reflexive. So you could use this verb normally. Despertar means to wake up. So the difference here is that reflexive verbs mean you do it to yourself. That's what the reflexive part means. Reflexive meaning I do it to myself. Okay? So, whenever we use verbs like despertarse or dormirse or bañarse, to take a bath, or ducharse, to take a shower, or peinarse, to brush your hair, right? These verbs, when you're talking about referring to you doing them, like I'm waking up, I'm going to sleep, I'm taking a bath, I'm taking a shower, I'm brushing my hair, it's a reflexive verb because I'm doing it to myself. And the only thing that changes with reflexive verbs, it's all the normal stuff. regular conjugations with AR verbs like despertar, you conjugate it with the AR endings. Despertar is a stem changing verb, so we have to change the E to an IE. And so this reflexive part, meaning I'm doing it to myself, or if someone else is doing it to themselves, or if you're doing it to yourself, all we do is add these endings, right? And these endings are, we just add it to the beginning, right? So, for instance, we have me, te, se, nos, blah, se, right? Those are our endings. Or, I mean, not endings, the parts that we have for reflexive verbs. So, for instance, if we look here, like look at number 1 on the exit slip. So, so this verb, the normal verb would be bañarse. Means to take a bath. Or in this case, to bathe yourself. Okay? So, if you're saying, I'm taking a bath, I take baths in the morning. That's what this means, number 1. So, what I would say is go through in steps, okay? So step 1 would be, ignore this for a hot second, and just look at the normal verb bañar, to take a bath. If I'm talking about, I'm taking a bath, right? Yo, leave a space for whichever of these we need to put in, right? Yo, blank. If I'm saying bañar, right here. First thing, is this a stem changing verb? Is this one of the stem changing verbs that we see in our chapter? No, it's not. It's not on our list. Okay, great. Then I have to look. What type of verb is this? Is it AR, ER, or IR? This is an AR verb. So we know that AR verb gives us our endings of o, as, a, amos, and an. I know it's going to be one of these endings. So let me put my stem, ban, because we have to take off our AR part and conjugate. So BAN. And we're talking about yo. So we know the ending is going to be this one, which is just an O. So, baña. Great. Now, since it's reflexive, now I got to care about this part. Well, this just means I'm doing it to myself. So, what's the one from yo? Well, it's this one. Me. Yo, me, baño. I take a bath, or I give myself a bath. Right? In this case, los estudiantes. That's they. So if we think about in our chart, right, this is usually our chart right here, they would be this one. So it's going to be los estudiantes se bañan por la noche. And again, this bañar is the normal, right, we have our AN at the end for they. Number 3, usted, we know that's this box. Se baña. What's nice is these are both the same. They're both always se. Se baña. Again, if it's usted, we know our ending is just a. Se baña después de desayunar. Number 4. So we're looking now at despertarse. So now it gives us this reflexive little part, and we have to conjugate the verb, the normal verb. So we know that despertar se. So let's go through our parts again. Right? So we have despertar. Let's put that SE to the side for just a hot second. Right? So, in this case, number 4, it's talking about mis abuelos. So, mis abuelos is what technically? Well, that subject would be ellos, or meaning them. right? So, despertar is what type of verb? AR, right? So we can put our stem. First we have to think, is this a stem changing verb? Well, actually it is. The E goes to an IE. It's in our chart, right? And you can find these in your vocabulary list. So, E goes to IE, right? You can't really see this very well, but and that's this E. So, first we change our stem. This E goes to IE. So now that's our stem, and we're talking about ellos, they, for an AR, so we know the ending is going to be AN, right? So we just add our new ending for the conjugation. Despiertan. And we know it already has it there, but we know it's se because it's them. So mis abuelos se despiertan temprano, right? How about number 5? Mi hermana y yo, what's the subject? We, right? Nos for we, but remember the nosotros form of stem changing verbs doesn't change the stem. It's only the yo, tú, él, ella, usted, and ellos that changes. Nosotros stays the same. So we know that despertar, we have to take off the AR, right? And add the ending for an AR verb, which is AMOS. Nos despertamos. And this one, y tú, we're talking about you. When do you wake up? Cuando te, so remember, despertar, right? We know this is a stem changing verb because we're not in nosotros, we're in the tú form, you. So this E turns into an IE. Right? And then an AR verb in the tú form has the ending AS. Despiertas. Cuando te despiertas. Alright? So I hope that helped clear up some things a little bit. If you have any more questions, specific questions, please feel free to send me an email. And I would love to clear up your questions or anything that you have. Okay? So thank you.